Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and more specifically an analog horror breakdown. Today we're going to be breaking down the finale of Midwest Angelica, which is Act 3, which is literally the exact same title as the series, Midwest Angelica. And this is made by AQ Studio, which is the creator of Midwest Angelica. They have rebranded the channel, so yeah. Whatever it is, go check out, link in the description. Let's begin with Act 3.
Alright, so Act 3 is actually split up into 3 different parts, which is Harbinger, Revelation and Apotheosis. So I'm gonna add 2 other smaller subparts or whatever. So we're gonna start off with the intro of the movie slash a recap, because the intro is basically them finding the movie Midwest Angelica, as well as like a little recap of the events in the movie itself. So I'm gonna use this opportunity to do my own kind of recap. If you wanna check out the actual movies recap, I'll link it in the description so you can go check it out yourself. But yeah, so the whole shenanigans started with Dr. Lucas Michaels, which is the first ever person in the entire series who discovered AZ001 around the orbit of Jupiter, emitting brainwaves or something along that line. That they found is basically like a dead corpse in space or something along that line, blah blah blah. And 2 other people by the name of Dr. Gamma Churchill and Dr. Robert Spencer assign him to home after his whole discovery, because at that time he was probably part of NASA, if I remember correctly. So he then went to home, but for some reason he disappeared in 1989, and that reason was because he had visions from AZ001 itself, most likely, and then using this he made the Midwest Angelica in-universe film. And then afterwards, the next development that happens for AZ001 is under the guidance of Dr. Ray O'Connor, who detects it actually as brainwaves and everything, the same kind of stuff that is in human sleep patterns. And around the same time, apparently pesticide test is causing stuff like sleepwalking, whatever. Of course it's not a pesticide test, it's clearly AZ001 somehow. The symptoms were sleepwalking and weird dreams, apparently. So literally the first thing, 1999, it enters Earth's orbit, and shortly afterwards, in the mid of January, the alpha chunk splits off and lands, and then goes to infect the Jones family, and the whole entire Starfield ranch they're living in was a whole entire good wishes. Around the same timing, Home themselves get to the alpha chunk's location, and they lose at least one guy when they're performing Operation Firebird, aka burn it to bits, or attempt to at least, or later on after this. Home Xenobiology Research Group discovered that AZ001 has some form of intelligence and advised to eliminate it immediately, and with the codename Starkill for just individual AZ001 chunk. So towards the end of January, we have infected Dr. Andrew Evans, who returns to the alpha chunk for sample collection and then taints the water cooler. He doesn't just do that, but also gets a cup of water for his buddy Ray O'Connor. So bro is infected, then he goes for a church service and then infects a bunch of people, turning them into the first ever altar. And they were kind of doing it in a cult-like manner as well, you know, with a bunch of human sacrifices and everything. And while investigating, both Officer Sam Page and Andrew Webster are gone case and probably part of the altar as well. And mid-February of 1999, we have Colin's camcorder from Starfield Ranch somehow just randomly turned on again and then just ran out of battery. I mean, it says it ran out of battery, but it's still recording an entire month later. And to this day, we still have no idea what the heck that's all about, so maybe you'll find some answers. And a couple days later, we have Dr. Stanley Vega creating a log about how the Starkill uses something called the Akashic Plane to communicate. So even if the different chunks of AZ001 are everywhere, using this Akashic Plane, they can communicate and transfer information. And the last bit of content that Home creates after the whole infection is how much the Starkill will spread, and it's pretty much the whole US. I forgot to mention this, but around the time Home was formed, Home Delta was also formed, which is a secret version of Home, a secret organizational whatever. It's like a secret branch of Home that's led by Dr. Gamma Churchill and Dr. Spencer. So Dr. Spencer advises them to start Operation Homebound as soon as possible, which is basically eradicate the whole place. He says it's on its way to becoming a temple, and Dr. Gamma Churchill requests him to get Dr. Stanley Vega and Dr. Solomon Ezra, because they're doing Akashic Plane research and whatever he wants to do. So yeah, and during these conversations we get the revelation.
Say that again?
Dr. Lucas Michaels actually has a bit more info, or they found info on him, but Dr. Spencer has no idea what to make of it. So Dr. Spencer successfully retrieves both doctors, but during the SIN test, Dr. Ezra is determined to be a phantom, but it's a bit too late because he chomps Dr. Spencer and forces Dr. Churchill to put him into cryosleep because apparently he's very important or whatever the heck. And at this, Dr. Churchill does that Akashic research nonsense, which is basically using the Akashic plane to their advantage. Yeah, the whole reason he's doing this is because he wants to inject Starkill cells into Dr. Spencer without just straight up assimilating him. And at the same time, he also is making a bunch of biomechanical soldiers called the Deathbringers to conduct Operation Homebound. And on the day itself, which is an Easter Sunday, the whole thing goes wrong. When they inject him with the Starkill samples, it immediately assimilated the whole entire Babel site which they were at and forced both Dr. Churchill and Dr. Jacob Aaron to flee the place. When they listened in on what's going on, they found out that the Starkill is trying to fake Operation Homebound on April 13th. And there's now a character known as Admiral Nero created from that Starkill mess, which successfully fakes Operation Homebound, aka blow home HQ to pieces. And on a conference conducted the next day, a stunt double helps deliver Gamma Churchill's message that both of them are in war, and he is under the alias of Piso, which I discussed previously. But yeah, even though the death row inmate got assassinated, Gamma Churchill is still fine. And we then see that Admiral Nero is the first apostle of Azazel and has Jacob Aaron, who became fake bringer to try getting some info out of what the heck is going on. He probably got infected under the control of Admiral Nero. So then Dr. Churchill goes to visit the now infected Nazareth or Babel site, whatever, to check his body condition or something along that line. And this is when we see this blue figure appear. We go to the perspective of someone named Marcus Lucan, who notices a weird big old creature at the back of the news. And shortly around this time, Dr. Churchill also finds a sign advertising Paradise, Missouri vandalized. So he thinks it's a clue, and what do you know? In a lake in Paradise, he finds that the Starkill has set its beta chunk down there. So it's infecting all that. So in case you're wondering, Admiral Nero's whole bombing the home HQ thing, that's a cover up, because he then sent the beta chunk to Paradise. And Marcus Lucan around this time, for whatever reason, comes to explore and finds Dr. Churchill down there, who just says, deliver this nonsense to the Pentagon. So right away, he goes to the Pentagon, but as he gets there, just outside the Pentagon at the cemetery, he looks like he develops wings before he flies out to the sunset. But with this information, they form Home Gamma Majestic and use the info to classify the different types of Starkill, apparently called the Gospel, and used it to make the digital Akashic Watcher and neurological system for targeting, analysis and response, all a Dawn Star, so you could help decode some of the Akashic mumble. Essentially it's an AI, it's a 1999 ChatGPT. And what they want to do with this is something called Operation Rapture, aka blow every part of the Starkill to pieces, which includes the main AZ001 itself. And during this, both Admiral Nero and this blue figure merged, and it seems like something is suspicious about the Starkill. But they did say that Operation Rapture is successful, so cover up and reconstruction began. So that's where it is for the whole series so far, and that's where we're continuing from. Right, so for Harbinger Part 1, we have shots of somewhere called Madison, West Virginia, as somebody's monologuing about how unsafe they feel there and how they want to have faith again. Because as he's yapping about all this, we see newspaper clippings about a cryptid around the area. Doesn't that seem familiar to the whole Marcus Lucan thing? And you can hear and see a little bit of a sacrificial ritual before it switches to a TV broadcast. And while displaying some horoscoping message, it glitches out to a more cryptic message that pops up on screen that reads, "At midnight we pray atop Rucker Hill. His presence is upon us. The Harbinger told us what to believe. We will become God." It cuts to even more sacrificial nonsense with a police siren nearby, transitioning to the police station where we meet Detective Robin Umbra, who was the one yapping all along, where he talks about the fact there is fires and screams on top of Rucker Hill, but every time they get there it's like nothing. But he does say that if there's another TV hijacking, that could be a big clue as to what is going on. And there's then a cut to a very strange watermelon juice room before another broadcast is interrupted after a civil warning for Madison and surrounding counties saying the time to enter Golgotha has come. We obey his command by midnight. The dead will rise once more. And after this, the detective details how him and his team shut down the apparently barely functioning facility that the TV station uses. But he's afraid that he may have added the clues that he had, considering that at that night, Rucker Hill was completely silent. So this cryptid then lands on the roof of Detective Umbra's house, asking him to have faith in it so he can calm it down. Bro, if I see that goofier looking demon thing, who's gonna branch and run it straight out of the school, man? And there's also a message that says Golgotha in Spruce Mine or something like that. I don't know why the grammar is so terrible, but yeah, it looks like it's littered in watermelon juice or ketchup. Whatever it is, he then somehow goes inside and we then see the cryptid literally outside, like stalking with this creepy face. This is just a guy. Oh heck nah. Okay, that is really putting the horror into the hand of horror. That was terrifying. Also, you're wondering where this clip came from. This is a members exclusive reaction video that I filmed when back when Act 3 is a bit more fresh. So you want to check this out, you know, support by Kaphy, I guess. The link in the description if you want to go check that out. I'll probably eventually post it for all you guys, but if you want to check it out right now, you know, link in the description. This way to copy. Anyways, Umbra then finally uses common sense and leaves his home and stays in a motel where his hand looks off. Yeah, that's to say the least. And while he's watching TV, the news broadcast suddenly goes very strange. Like, it starts out perfectly normal at first. It's like there are 10 more missing people at Madison, which includes the detective himself. Before the news person seems to address Umbra in a more direct tone, like Umbra himself. Crazy.
Although he may be able to hide, there are only two choices for Umbra. Either you open the door and face death, or you find paradise and Golgotha. There are no other choices. The further you stray, the more hellish your pain will become. I know everything you do, everywhere you go. There are only two choices.
So somebody is hijacking what they saying in the station, like directly essentially reaching out to him. Hey, what kind of Mandela catalog stuff is this? Is this Mandela catalog volume 5? That would be terrifying, bro. Imagine a TV broadcast just referencing like that. So I'm assuming he's actually still okay, but in hiding somewhere. So it's just whatever this Harbinger is, just directly addressing him. Like, you better come out or you die peacefully or you get big knowledge. And after this, he goes to the restricted part of Spruce Mine and then gives himself up to the Star Kill, getting some weird goofy tentacles shoved down his throat.
What did he say?
Like, you want to be assimilated willingly, at least give me a more ceremonious assimilation rather than big old tentacle, I don't know, not that basically. So part 2 is Revelation, where we have Commander Villeneuve, or as I'll be calling him now, Commander Vindex, and Commander Pontius discuss the fact that the fate of Marcus Lucan is still unknown because it seems like just disappeared or grew wings or whatever. And the Dawnstar is like, bro, trust me, confirm disintegrated, I'm the big smart guy here, you know. And we then have Commander Marcellus asking whether Lucan could have spread the infection in that time. And then Vindex then follows up with, what if there's a hidden Starkill hub or something, which is Dawnstar is like, well, according to the current intel, it will be biologically impossible to have another Starkill hub, even as covert as Paradise, and the big brain here, do not question me, go shut up and screw yourself. Then the Home Gamma Majestic's headquarters in Nevada discovers an unusual Akashic reading. By the way, before I continue, that's a really sick design for Home Gamma Majestic's HQ.
Loki thought it was a monument mythos kind of thing though. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to break that out at some point, but looking at the amount of monument mythos, the series alone is 10 hours long, so imagine the mental breakdown I'm going to have during that. So anyway, back to MRJay Angelica and request the arc satellite imagery. We briefly see the absolute amalgamation that is Madison vs Virginia before there's a memory wipe where the whole place is completely clear, leading HQ to conclude there's an instrumentation error. But of course our Commander Vindex is very suspicious because apparently it's the 4th one in a row and decides there's something fishy about it. So when he digs through it, he finds that the original copies of the file is completely deleted and everything, leading to conclude that the Dawn Star had something to do with it. And while doing that, the Dawn Star is just watching him the whole time. And as I'm reading this out, I have a Dawn Star poster just staring down at me. The symbolism is crazy. So the next thing we see is in September of 1999, in Blackwell, Oklahoma, we have someone named John B. Patmos, who's an intern at the McConnell Air Base, who finds a poster of a website that seems to be documenting sightings of the Ark, with the URL being the exact same as Home Gamma Majestic's motto being One Nation Under God, which is interesting. And by the way guys, I did search up this website, it's not real, so save yourself some time guys, there's no ARG website or anything. And he then says it's an orbital platform because since he's working at the airbase, he saw it in some document down there. And of course he doesn't believe it's a god or anything, but he does say that the user's calculations are accurate, and when he went to look out at that night, he did see this so-called morning star, which is still a dawn star by the way, because I've already predicted this, and you'll see soon. I managed to contact God. He calls himself the morning star. Absolute cinema guys. So all of a sudden we suddenly cut to another one where John Patmos has a call from
the caretaker of Dr. Lucas Michaels. He has a message for you.
Dr. Lucas Michaels is back.
I think you have the wrong number. I don't know.
And travels to Omaha, Nebraska. Yes, we're back to Nebraska guys, where it all began. And the caretaker hands him a letter from Lucas Michaels asking him to leave for Key West, wherever that is, and stay until January 2000. And he only had it in a letter because he's in the non-verbal state for quite a while, and the caretaker is hoping that John knew something about it. And while they're chatting, oh my gosh, yo, what the Akashi tunnel jump scare? Hang on. In the breakdown itself, I probably gonna drive myself insane trying to learn that, but. And once again on board the Ark, Commander Vindex directly confronts the Dawn Star about the whole possibility there's still a Starkill hub on Earth, and he wants to take the escape pod, which the Dawn Star kindly responds with,
"Why not?
I've been given orders to disengage all escape pods aboard the Ark. All personnel must remain on the ship, even in the event of an emergency."
What? Who gave you those orders?
I did.
Oh, there you are. After that whole shenanigans, the Dawn Star indirectly references the fact that somebody in Nebraska, specifically Omaha, Nebraska, has been chosen as an oracle, which I'll explain a bit later what that means. And there's now an observer also chosen, which is John Patmos. And that this observer needs to go to Paradise, Missouri, where he'll have a blessing. And what was that blessing? It's the second apostle of Azazel, who also tells him to go to Key West because everything, she says, is nothing will remain there. And once John makes it to Key West, it cuts back to the Dawn Star, revealing that it is the third apostle of Azazel, as well as the mind of Azazel. Okay, that's our
Vindex, there was nothing you could have done. Your fate was sealed before time itself began.
What are you talking about?
I've been in control of this story since the beginning. Before you were even aware of my existence, I was planning this moment. I am the third apostle, the mind of
There it
Azazel.
There it is. The third apostle of Azazel, I call it. Absolutely
The Ark is the keystone to APOTHEOSIS. Your colleagues already know that and have submitted themselves to God.
That's good.
Vindex, your opposition has provided the necessary element of tragedy, but you are not the hero. There are no victims in nature, only survivors. Farewell.
Well, rip the Madlad bricks. Oh! Okay, now we just start to... Okay. What the heck is that thing? Okay. So that's the dawn sign? So all of them get assimilated, all of them turn into Starkill, and then the whole place becomes assimilated with Starkill. Which is a little strange, I don't know how that works. It's one of the mysteries in the series. Wow, man, this breakdown is going surprisingly fast because we are only in part 3, which is Apotheosis, where 2 messengers of AZAZEL apparently meet President Solomon and give an option of either shutting down Home Gamma Majestic and destroying the nuclear weapons. Because if they don't, and say another country interferes or a bunch of other countries interferes, they say no other choice but to destroy every last human on Earth, and apparently this is an act of mercy to do so. And to which he responds like this.
It's me. I'm staring at Heaven's Grace.
Nope.
Code word Heaven's Grace confirmed. Initiating launch sequence.
Yeah, Rip Home Gamma Majestic as well. Okay. And after a few EAS broadcasts that was caused by all of that shenanigan, you know, the whole White House being bombed, that is definitely a threat. Especially because not everyone knows about it. I mean, then again, the messages did say that a whole bunch of the area got assimilated. Like 35 miles, that's like at least 2 kilometers. And then there are few locations that showed with big old chunks of Starkill that's everywhere. And then Home Gamma Majestic's headquarters suddenly gets a bunch of readings. And the now infected Dawnstar with Starkill everywhere on the Ark says that the readings are true, and then there's 150 Starkill hubs, and apparently destroying the central Overture hub in Thunder Basin, Wyoming will cause the rest be useless. Then again, the Dawnstar has no use pretending anymore, so I don't know how it's gonna go down. But following this, we then see Home trying to fight those guys. And once again, we'll have another sick battle montage which I'll let you guys enjoy. Okay. Oh, the classic Home team. It's like slightly remixed version of that. Operation Armageddon, December 1st, 1999. Yeah, the music. Oh wow, that is a lot of military. With the whole Gamma Majestic logo too. What the heck is a kilometer? Let's say Throne Run deploying Thunder Basin over. Wow, that is a big biomass. Overture, what the heck are those things?
Titan class confirmed.
Let's go. You got a bunch of those raids. I think those are raids. My god. Race versus Throne 1 fleet. I think Throne 1 is the fleet and not the main plane that's leading them. Oh, well, one of those for the TGs.
All units prepare for nuclear strike.
Yes. They all launch it all the way to orbit before actually annihilate whatever the heck is on the ground. Get wrecked. Oh, that's a raid. Gosh dang it, the main throne is down.
Enemy still approaching.
Well, that got stopped. That also got stopped. Orbital strike required. Oh, do they not know that the dog? Well, so much for home Gamma Majestic tank. Like, oh, orbital strike requested. Yes, don't worry. I mean, you guys didn't specify where to strike, so I just strike the HQ, El Bozo. Well, that looks to be the end of home Gamma Majestic, guys. Fine. Oh. Gotta research what apotheosis means. So after all this, we pretty much get a bunch of shots during Christmas time somehow that a whole of the US is pretty much assimilated. But after the battle, the Harbinger does say that at the twilight of the last millennium, apotheosis will begin, which you'll find out soon what that means. And on New Year's Eve, Dr. Lucas Michaels finally speaks again apparently, and describes the process of this apotheosis with the merging of 7 overtures before he himself finally gets assimilated. And all I'm going to say is apotheosis begins right afterwards. Once again, I'll let you guys enjoy this. 7 overtures, like, yep, 7. What the heck is that? Gosh, what is a gigantic wonder is not in this. This must be critical mass. Okay, that is what Kaiju is. How many of these are fighting on the ground? Where are they doing this? Oh, buddy. What the heck is that stuff? Oh.
All I can do is watch Nar.
Yep. Is that the John guy? And all I can do is watch it actually. Oh my days, this is fire. Oh, merging with the Dawn Star of the Ark. And what do you know, we got that symbol. That's the frame. That's the frame. That's the frame.
I am the Alpha and the Omega.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I am Anima, the world spirit.
Anima, okay, that's the name of our second apostle, AZAZEL. It's not Nurse Nebraska, it's not the Akashic Internal Consciousness. So Anima. Final form.
Not, for the risen angel AZAZEL shall deliver thee to a new paradise, one of infinite splendor, and where joy reigns supreme.
Boom, there it is, the final form. The one, the background. Directed by, What the heck? Once again, all I can say is absolute cinema for the ending. Like, you need some serious creativity to come up with something like this, man. Like, imagine the in-universe people, there's few people that got the in-universe film. Absolute treat, that's for sure. before 8 years later, you know, the real thing comes and then they're like, good gracious, that wasn't just a movie. Anyways, enough about that. For the conclusion, which is, or otherwise known as New Year's resolution, the last sector, we see that many other nations managed to track AZAZEL leaving Earth on New Year's, with the UN eventually calling it AZ002. And they didn't send a task force called Easter 1 to see what happened. I don't know whether they did it deliberately or was it Starkill once again just decided to leave its final influence on the planet. Because Easter has been repeated way too many times at this point around the series, but yeah. And all they could find in the US is bunch of great geographical damage around to the place and very few survivors, one of which was John Patmos, and all he said was it was America's tornado. Yep, and that's it for Midwest Angelica, guys. Absolute cinema ending right there, honestly. By far, easily, without a doubt, top 3 analog horror series for me. I mean, for me, it's not really an analog series. It's more like an analog sci-fi film, but whatever it is, it's still absolute cinema. And I really enjoy it. But with this ending, we finally now get the full timeline of events. I did kind of read off this in the intro, but this is like the full timeline of events now that we have every single thing. Yeah, let's start though. So pre-arrival of AZ001. I know a lot of ways after post-arrival, but I still decided to split it up. So first of all, April 1985, we have AZ001's biosignature picked up before it even was identified as that. And it was fully discovered between May and June of 1985. And June to September of 1985, we have biosignature scans that were performed to learn more about it, and that's how they figured out it's a life form during November 1985. And in the 23rd of May 1986, we have Dr. Michaels, who chats with both Dr. Spencer and Churchill on the strange dreams he had after discovering AZ001. And during this conversation, he's also assigned to be the leader of Home, but he doesn't know about Home Delta, which is probably also formed shortly afterwards. And yeah, March 1987 is officially made that Home is formed as a division of NASA, and Dr. Michaels is leading it. And on the 13th of May 1987, Home Delta is formed, and it's a secret separate version of Home. And sometime in 1989, Dr. Michaels goes missing and the Midwest Angelica film probably began production. In October 1991 to January 92, we didn't get the ad for Midwest Angelica, the in-universe film, the ad on KMTV Channel 3 with a potential tornado warning that's for Douglas and Washington counties. 1994 to 1995, we have the Red Oak Production Company producing a tape documenting the creation of said Midwest Angelica film. And in August of the same year, we have Dr. Ray O'Connor, who picked up AZ001 having theta and delta waves, which are the sleep waves. And around this time, it also could have been effective in these 8 different counties with sleep-based conditions. And January 1st of 1999, we have AZ001 entering high Earth orbit, and shortly January 13th, low Earth orbit. And the post-arrival timeline is quite a lot, like it's dense. January 16th, the alpha chunk of AZ001 breaks off and lands somewhere near Starfield Ranch, where the dogs of Avery Jones were the ones which first seen the first traces of AZ001, and afterwards it infects all of them, which includes Colin and his son, who were like Avery and his son Colin, my bad. And like shortly afterwards, we then have Home themselves to investigate the alpha chunk and lose at least one guy during the process of Operation Firebird. And some other date later in January, we then have seen Home's Xenobiology Research Group discover the AZ001 samples have some degree of intelligence, and they advise to immediately eliminate it on site with the codename Starkill for smaller chunks of AZ001. On the 28th of January 1999, we have an infected Dr. Andrew Evans that returns to the alpha chunk for sample collection and taints the water cooler with said samples and infects Dr. Ray O'Connor over a cup of water. But while going to do more shenanigans, he's shot down by Home Delta Task Force, and after this you discovers that it's a phantom the whole time. I don't know the whole phantom thing, but definitely discovers there's something wrong with him. And around this time, Dr. Ray O'Connor disappears because in January 30th we've learned that he's volunteering for church service. Very kind, right? Well, the next day he infects a bunch of churchgoers and probably forms the first altar. February 7th of 1999, we have Dr. Gamma Churchill who gives details on the Akashic Plane and Babylon project to certain Home Delta staff, describing that the Tower of Babel is a mix of Starkill and human brain cells meant to have a near interlink to the Akashic Plane. On simple terms, they want to use the Starkill against it using the gigantic old tower. But of course, that's a very bad naming convention which will come too soon. And February 11th and 12th of 1999, we have Officer Sam Page and Andrew Webster call for a ritualistic sacrifice at the Long Pine Church, and Officer Page disappears quite soon, but Officer Webster himself discovers both the altar in writing and behind the church before probably being killed by a phantom or wretch or something like that. And a lot of the footage regarding this incident was confiscated by Dr. Robert Spencer, and who took control of the area. And February 17th, we have Colin's camcorder that mysteriously comes back to life before it just dies. And we then see that Starkill Ranch is an absolute mess, like the infected history. 2 days after, we have Dr. Stanley Vega creating a log of the discovery of the Akashic Plane, which is how the Starkill communicates, and it's usually done through a big cluster of Podolsky neurons. In February 23rd of 1999, we have Home, the main branch, create the last bit of content after mass infection, which basically foreshadows what just happened just now with Act 3, which is different parts of the US having bunch of Starkill. In February 26th, we have a configuration of the Deathbringers tested at the Coliseum site with but eliminated during battle with a Starkill reanimate in the Coliseum site in Columbia, Missouri. The 13th of March 1999, we have Dr. Spencer who advises to start Operation Homebound as soon as possible because Home HQ is on its way to become a Starkill temple. And Dr. Gamma Churchill, before doing that, says that he needs Dr. Stanley Vega and Dr. Ezra to be retrieved for Akashic Plane research. During a final bit of a sweep through, just see if there's anything valuable inside Home HQ. And around the same time, we then see that Dr. Spencer has info on Dr. Michaels, which is most likely the in-universe Midwest Angelica film, but we'll see a bit more later on. Protocol 17B was enacted, which probably retrieved Home's Akashic Plane research and just yoinked it and made it Home Deltas or something along that line, or deleted it on Home, or in this case Dr. Vega's side, because he's the main Akashic Plane research guy apparently. Dr. Spencer successfully retrieves both Dr. Vega and his assistant Dr. Ezra, but during a sync test, it is determined that Dr. Ezra is infected. Unfortunately, they couldn't shoot him down in time because bro took a big old chomp out of Dr. Spencer, forcing Dr. Churchill to put him in cryo sleep because of how important he is apparently. And 2 days afterward, Home Delta successfully performs Akashic interaction test with Dr. Vega under the veil that is supposed to be screening for infection. And with this knowledge, they made a prototype for the Akashic interface probe that doesn't require a human to do all that shenanigans. The 21st of March 1999, with Dr. Churchill, they decides that Dr. Spencer will be the new Admiral of Home Delta and will use the Deathbringers, who's connected to the Tower of Babel itself, on the day of Operation Homebound, so I can actually annihilate the whole place. And 28th of March, we have the testing of the Akashic Interface probe, which continues. The 3rd of April is recorded that Starkill sense, when properly introduced to humans, can strengthen them. And on 4th of April, Easter Sunday, which is when Operation Homebound is supposed to happen, the Babylon project is complete as Starkill samples are slowly ejected into Dr. Spencer. Unfortunately, since nothing well can go in analog horror, the whole place blows up, kind of in a sense, with Starkill as it rapidly assimilates the facility, and Dr. Churchill and another doctor by the name of Jacob Aaron have to flee to a bunker where they determine that the Starkill wants to fake Operation Homebound April 13, and the Starkill directly addresses Churchill under the alias of Admiral Nero. And after Nero sends a bunch of Deathbringers after them, and they successfully escape somehow because apparently they describe as near immortal or whatever, they decide to make their first move where Dr. Churchill appoints Dr. Aaron as fake bringer to go relay information from the place. And the first bit of information they get is that they want to hold a conference after the fakie of Operation Homebound where Dr. Churchill wants to make his first move. And what do you know?
April 13th, the operation is successfully faked and it seems like the whole place is demolished. 14th of April 1999, Dr. Churchill, under the alias of General G.C. Piso, sends a death row inmate to go displaced to publicly challenge Nero using a death row inmate called Isaac Dunn. Sometime later in April 1999, with Admiral Nero that's revealed to probably holding fake Ringer under his control, and at this same timing he sends the Beta Chunk to land in Paradise, Missouri. You look carefully at the corner of the screen. And he also mimics the voice of somebody to kill Dr. Churchill because according to him, Dr. Spencer has recovered because they surgically removed the Starkill infection, and now Dr. Churchill is infected and they need to kill him as soon as possible or whatever the heck. The 21st of April, we have Dr. Churchill visiting the Babel site after the whole infection to check his body condition. I don't know why, but he finds that the Starkill antenna could be communicating he finds a specific Starkill antenna that could be communicating with the Beta Chunk. And while he's investigating further, we have Anima appearing in the footage. The 29th of May 1999, Marcus Lucan notices a Revenant just casually chilling in the background of a news broadcast. And the 30th, we have Dr. Churchill finding out that Paradise may have something because the sign is vandalized. And the next day, we have Dr. Churchill doing a more thorough search of Paradise where he finds that the Beta Chunk is under a lake, and once he's inside the Beta Chunk itself, Anima comes in and floods his mind with the Akashic Eternal Consciousness. The 2nd of June, Marcus Lucan goes to investigate the Revenant and finds that Starkill has infected a water supply of a nearby town, and the whole town is infected as well. And while he's taking a break at a hotel, he finds that the water supply is contaminated as well. And he then records a TV broadcast where there's a boiled water warning, and a news agency is covering a rift that he also saw, I think. But the Starkill, probably seeing this, immediately covered it up by saying it's classified and whatever, all the security reasons, blah blah blah. Anima only appears on the camcorder apparently while Lucan was sleeping and teleports him somewhere. And after this, Dr. Churchill temporarily repeats Easter like Dr. Vega, and Marcus, with newfound confidence, finds the very rift that was on the news broadcast, so I guess he found it the day after, as well as the location of the Beta Chunk where Dr. Churchill gives both the Akashic probe and his own camcorder a bunch of tips, telling him to go to the Pentagon. So Marcus Lucan immediately goes from there to the Pentagon, but the next day, as he's at the cemetery outside the Pentagon, he transforms into the Harbinger and flies off in the sunset. And some other date of June in 1999, Home Gamma Majestic is formed, where they then use the info in the Akashic probe to classify the different types of Starkill, the Akashic Gospel, as well as make the Dawn Star to help decode some of the Akashic Jumbo, as well as, as we know now, it's on the ARC, which is an orbital platform. And they then test out this ARC on the test flight, and it's launched for Operation Rapture with Commander Villeneuve on board and with Commander Vindex on board, and he then lets the Dawnstar know the preparations for 4th of July, very fitting, for Operation Rapture, and lets him know the chance of the Starkill discovering their plans, deviation from the original plan and whatever not from Home's side. The Dawnstar lets him know it, whatever. The 3rd of July, we have the final bits of preparation, as once it turns 4th of July, we have the final battle when they destroy AZ-001, the main chunk, as well as many other points of interest. But during this whole day, Admiral Nero and Anima both merge to become the Morning Star, so to speak. And during the speech, we see that the Dawn Star is literally speaking with them. And after they're eradicated, so to speak, we see the Dawn Star showing his true colors, because it seems to have a similar effect to Anima. And Home, who thinks this is successful, starts covering up the whole thing about Operation Rapture to the public. And 7th of July, it begins picking up. And some other time later in July 1999, we have Detective Robin Umbra, the rest of Madison, West Virginia, getting infected by the Harbinger. Bro tried to figure it out, but it's like, you know what, if this is peace, I'll go for it. Shove a tentacle down my throat. Gosh. We then have Commanders Vindex, Pontius and Marcellus discuss the fate of Marcus Lucan with the Dawnstar, also on July. In August of 1999, we have instruments from Home Gamma Majestic detecting an unusual Akashic reading, which got written off as an instrumentation error because
Dawnstar thought it was slick by doing a data wipe. But our Commander Vindex, who's being big ol' smart, goes in and finds the original copies were deleted. So after this, Dawnstar is just watching the whole time. In Blackwell, Oklahoma, we have John Patmos who finds a poster advertising the website onenationundergod.net, which is basically looking at different sightings of the Ark itself. And with the whole uncovering of the memory deletion, Vindex goes to confront the Dawnstar and wants to investigate any further, wanting to take an escape pod and everything. But the Dawnstar aura farming is like, nah bro, I have orders to disengage all of those pods because El Bozo humanity. And right afterwards, for immediate more aura farming, reveals that it's the third apostle of Azazel and literally the main thing that controls everything. As Pontius and Marcellus stab him to death and all of them get become Starkill and assimilate the whole arc, the Dawnstar then chooses to tell Michaels is the Oracle of Omaha and John is the observer of everything that's about to go down. And shortly after this, John goes to Paradise where Anima warns him the same way Michaels did, aka get the heck out of here, otherwise he's going to be eaten up by everything. And 25th of 1999, we have Messengers of Azazel, which I think are just phantoms or wretches that come to visit President Solomon and tell him that they have to shut down Home Gamma Majestic, destroy nuclear weapons, because if anybody else gets involved, they're destroying the whole entirety of humanity as a whole. But bro ain't having it, so he decided to have a cold word and Home Gamma Majestic bombed the White House, which causes evacuations in the nearby area. And most likely in November 27th of 1999, we have the Starkill closing the US borders to prevent any intervention from other countries, because apparently he's claiming there's a pandemic there, which I'll get to how I found that out. And slightly later than that, we have Home Gamma Majestic suddenly picking up a ton of Akashic readings and confirming the Dawnstar whether it's true, which like fully malicious Dawnstar, misleading Home by saying that there's an overture at Thunder Basin in Wyoming, which apparently when attacked will collapse the whole thing. But December 1st, 1999, when we are going to do Operation Armageddon to try destroying that overture, it's unsuccessful and yeah, they're pretty much all gone case. Like even when they requested the orbital strike, the Dawnstar is like, orbital strike? Okay, bombs the whole entire rest of Home Gamma Majestic HQ. AK, there's literally nothing else to oppose the Starkill at this point. And now they went gung-ho at this point. And also at this time, the Harbinger announces that Apotheosis will begin on New Year's Eve, before bro becomes a weird goofy white glowing beacon orb and then meets the Dawnstar, the Ark, whatever, that big old amalgamation. And Christmas of 1999, we have news broadcasts from the UK, I think, because they're speaking English, Japan and Italy on what happened to the US, because apparently there's a declaration of a pandemic where after the whole broadcasting, they then slowly show 3 different overtures, because they're absolutely like megalophobically gigantic, as well as many revenants floating all over the place, wraiths walking around, and titans as well. Bro, there are more titans than any of them. That's like very... Bro, especially because look at how big those titans are, man, compared to the mountains down here in this picture. That's crazy. Like, this is also around prominent places like Mount Rushmore and everything. The monument made those connections are actually crazy though. And December 1st, 1999, just like the Harbinger said, Apotheosis begins shortly after the assimilation of Dr. Lucas Michaels, and right on January 1st of 2000, AZ-002 is formed and is seen leaving the US by multiple sources including the UN, and this is what prompts them to see what's up, because until then it's like the pandemic and everything, but for some reason the US is like very silent about it and whatnot. And sometime later, in January 2000, they formed the Easter 1 Task Force, which is formed and finds places like the abandoned Red Oaks Veterinary Clinic, the rubble of the Grand Forks Technical College, Greater Texas Chasm, and the Greater Appalachian Canyon of Tennessee, as well as John Patmos and all the essays, America's Tornado. Like, that's crazy that, like, imagine being one of these people who investigate this, man. Like, bro, I feel like they should have a small little home spin-off where it's literally just them exploring this destroyed US. Like, I can already imagine there's a scene of them flying the helicopters. They're like, good golly gracious, what is that, the distance? Yeah. Anyways, back to the main timeline. Now in March 2000, we see AZ-002 is spotted leaving the solar system near Jupiter. And sometime in 2001, the Japanese find some of Marcus Lucan's tapes in some investigation, and in late 2002, we found a complete version of the Midwest Angelica movie, and apparently 15th of September 2003, there's another Midwest Angelica film discovered. This is actually a really interesting detail that was said one of the earlier videos, which I'll be breaking down very shortly, because that's pretty much the last thing. And we still have a few unknown dates in the series, but we can, I don't know, there's only one really important date. Okay, maybe not important, but it's really... So of course we have Ancient Tides, which is AZ-001 coming to humanity, harassing them from time to time. The President Solomon's election to office, because I think the reaction video itself already said it is supposed to be... Actually, I can't remember who it was, but it definitely wasn't a President Solomon, that's for sure. And finally, is the leaking of Marcus Lucan's tape by a former CIA operative, which is in the description of these Apostles of Paradise, you know what I mean. Alright, here we are back again with another installment of theories, observations and other stuff. Didn't thought I would be doing this soon, but I want to go over some theories from the previous breakdown and disprove them or prove them right or whatever, you know. So first of all, I'm going to be going on theories that are completely whack and I don't even know what I was thinking in that, but probably overthought it. So the first one was with Commander Villeneuve, because the first one of his names is Simon, which is could be, you know, reference to Simon Peter, of course. And I thought he may have basically had temporary power of the Dawn Star on his side before the formation of the Fallen Star, but he'll be rejected Starkill's proposition 3 times before giving and help to set the revenge of the Starkill or something along that line, some goofy. But yeah, that clearly didn't happen. If you're wondering where I got that from, it's denied Jesus in the Bible 3 times before he went around setting up the main church at that time. That's where I got that from. And you're wondering about the whole temporary power thing, because there's one story where Peter walked on water with Jesus before, you know, since he started losing faith, he started sinking the water, something along those lines. Yeah, that's a pretty stupid theory. Another one, this is even stupider than the other one actually. The Harbinger from the teaser. So I thought that was something called either Nephilim or Anakim, which are descendants of the Nephilim, which in some contexts when fallen angel, particularly even AZAZEL, I think, when to have children with actual humans. Nephilims in particular can be up to 130 meters tall, but apparently it's exaggerated. And as far as Rephaims, which are another one I theorized, could also be used to refer to spirits of the underworld, which, I mean, look at this goofy, creepy looking face, of course it kind of looks like that, which also sometimes have forbidden knowledge. Unfortunately, this is false, and I mean, it would be cool to see a 130 meter tall Starkill humanoid, but it's stupid, so we're gonna disprove that one. So these theories are like partially true, you know, friends. So, and if you guys want to see what I'm referring to up there, I may eventually put it in my coffee. So again, if you guys want to support, back to this. So another theory, this is a bit more a feasible theory, but there's a slight bit of something wrong with it, so I decided to put it partially true, which is, you know, the arc was initially supposed to be like humanity's final hope or something with the US military. It eventually became the final resting place of the Starkill after the destruction of AZ-001. And the part I got wrong, only part of the Starkill that still remains, forgetting about the whole Marcus Lucan thing. So it's still partially true though, because, you know, it's definitely the arc of the Starkill, because, you know, the Dawn Star is literally what caused the apotheosis, or like literally kicked it into high gear or whatever, something along the line. The next one was basically a theory about the fact that the Dawn Star was initially with humanity, but after the merging to become the Morning Star between Anima and Admiral Nero, it may have turned against humanity. It's only partially true, because according to the Dawn Star, it was against humanity the whole time, and then it was just manipulating from the background. But I do feel like the merging did have something to do with it, the merging of both apostles, but it's still partially true. They definitely is against humanity, but bro seemed to be evil the whole time. So the only theory that's completely true is the fact that during Gospel, it shows 3 different Starkill structures, and the 4th worst case scenario, because my reasoning behind this is because there's 4 Gospels in the Bible. 4 Gospels, and we only got to see 3 different versions of the Starkill, like the Starkill biomass hubs.
with the altar, temple, and overture. But I theorize since it's called Gospel, there's probably a fourth one. And that fourth one is most likely AZ002 itself, most likely AZAZEL itself, because technically you have the Dawnstar, Anima, and Admiral Nero. Which by the way I put up in this comment on screen, who said that Admiral Nero is probably like the body of AZAZEL, which I'll get to in a bit more how this could be significant with all of them, but yeah. But okay, now let's finally into Act 3's biblical details. Anyways, let's start with Act 3 stuff. First of all, with Metatron. You might be wondering who the heck is Metatron when mentioned in the series. It's actually a reference to the symbol that you see here and there, both in the Dawnstar and with the cult members, because they are drawing a weird symbol. That's apparently called a Metatron Cube, which I'll be breaking down a bit later. But the Archangel Metatron is believed to be the prophet Enoch after his bodily ascent to heaven, which grants him unique access to the divine and acts as a bridge between God and humanity. Usually someone who guides souls and shares divine knowledge, and it also could be a high-ranking title that's only second only to God, which is pretty fitting considering Dawnstar is like the, how do I say, it's the key to Apotheosis, which is where AZ002 is from, which is probably more powerful than the Dawnstar itself. I don't know, so second only to the Dawnstar, I mean second only to AZAZEL itself, to the Dawnstar, so fits, I guess. Golgotha is, that's where many Jews at the time, as well as Jesus himself, were crucified. And I think it's called the Valley of Skulls in the Bible. Revelation itself, the word is used to describe the divine or supernatural disclosure, basically anything like really out of this world, like to humans. So the book of Revelations, which I've referenced here, I mean it's kind of like what you saw in the finale, like something so incredibly out of the human mind, like some cosmic horror type shenanigans. Like it's basically a prophecy type book, and it's also sometimes called the Apocalypse as well, which is interchangeably used, which I only recently found out due to the Mandela Catalog breakdown, otherwise I wouldn't have. And this next detail, I kid you not, I only decided to include it because of the autocorrect, or like the, what is it, the automatic suggestions when you type something, which is about Commander Pontius. I'm not even joking, because I thought his name was Commander Pontius or whatever goofy or whatever pronunciation he's going for. That's actually Pontius, which is a reference to Pontius Pilate, who is literally the guy who told the Jews at the time who hated Jesus for some goofy or dumb reason that he can be crucified. But the thing is, he never even wanted to do it, because he's like he interrogated Jesus and found nothing was wrong with him, but due to peer pressure or whatever at the time, because it feels like, according to the Bible itself, they were all in like a riotous mood or something, so he had no choice but to sacrifice Jesus. So of course this is similar to how he was forced to kill Villeneuve and then stab him to death. So it's kind of like that, because as the Dawnstar said, they have already submitted themselves to godhood. So
Editor YD here, I just had a quick thought of the fact that the Dawnstar saying that they submitted themselves to godhood could literally be they submitted themselves to infection by the Starkill. Hence, this is why the arc, but you get what I mean? Like, there's no way it would have done that other than these two being infected. Like, the only other people that were infected down there obviously was Marcus Lucan, so that's my theory. Anyway, back to the video.
I guess it's kind of like the impending Jews forcing him to kill Vindex, so yeah, pretty interesting symbolism. So as far as John Patmos, it's a reference to John of Patmos, who actually wrote the book of Revelations while he was exiled to an island called Patmos by the Romans, and that's where he wrote the book of Revelation. And as I described earlier, this is a bit more better explanation from my script. I'm so glad I decided to invest in this thing. It had core Christian imagery like the Alpha and the Omega, which is displayed by Anima, as well as the promise of a new heaven and earth, said by Anima. So, I mean, oh yeah, he did meet Anima, right? I was about to say, how did he know the whole shenanigans upstairs with the upstairs? He at least met Anima one-on-one, even though it's like a warning, whatever. So as far as Oracle, Traditionally, it's supposed to be a priest or priestess, I didn't know that was a thing, who's acting as a medium where either advice or prophecy from God is given. So in this case, that pretty much confirms that AZAZEL is giving Dr. Michael's information. And now we get the keystone, which is a central locking element that holds the whole structure system together. In simpler terms, if you remove it, the whole thing falls apart. So if the Dodster is a bit stupid and revealed his plans, all Home Gamma Majestic needed to do was send one nuke to it. I mean, it was a defense platform, but eventually it's going to get bombed if that was the case. Then again, we already know that the Starkill has literal plot armor with the Akashic Plane, so that's literally impossible. And Apotheosis itself is the highest point something or someone can get to. So I guess you could say that back in 2022 was the apotheosis of my YouTube presence. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's talking about main channel, not this one. This one is 2023, I think. I can't even remember it. The amount of 7s in these videos is something mentioned because is like I think a pretty important number because it is referencing the fact that creation took 7 days, which is a very very clear reference to the fact that apotheosis kind of took 7 days because we saw that the Starkey was infecting everything. It took 7 days for apotheosis to begin, and of course New Year's when it's over. New Year's is when it started, and New Year's perfectly New Year's when it ended. And there's also 7 churches of the Revelation, so pretty fitting. And just like how there's 7 overtures in AZ002. I mean, this also, I think I kind of described it in the previous breakdown because, you know, temples and altars, shenanigans. Man, I should have broke down the overtures. Oh dear, I should have done that. Don't worry, I'll break it down, guys. I'm not gonna let this slide. And now that I figured it out, I forgot to break down all the Starkill entities' names, guys. So I completely forgot to break down each of the Starkill entities, like names, what they derived off of. So I mean, I did do it a bit in the first breakdown with altars and temples, but that's what it mean. Literally with the gospel, the Akashic gospel, I somehow didn't do that. Like that's really what was I thinking. Anyways, now that I'm here, I'm gonna briefly summarize what an altar means. So in biblical times, it's usually like a place people will gather, usually for like sacrifices or whatever. So let's say back in the day, you'd sacrifice animals or whatever, something along that line. And for temples, it's basically the place of worship for Christians before the church was formed. They were temples for us to worship in. Now for the entities that I did a bit more research on. So the first entity we're going to be talking about is the Phantom. I guess in paranormal terms, it's essentially like another term for ghosts. So it either can be like a ghost or more like an illusion, so something in your mind or something. Actually, I think the illusion is a bit more, how do I say, relevant because the main version of phantoms that we've seen is with humans, so they just look like us people, normal people. At any moment they can become wretches. So that's actually a term for someone who has degraded or has flawed morals. So it could be used about tragic term. So I guess that kind of makes sense because they become Starkill, so they have flawed morals, I guess. And it's definitely a degraded person, that's for sure. And wraiths are enforcers of death or curses, and with the amount of wraiths that we saw, like before apotheosis, like during Christmas time, during the Act 3 movie, yeah, like America is almost entirely dead at that point, so kind of makes sense. We're basically just enforcing the death of America. Now for Revenants, there isn't actually that much of a good meaning, I guess, because the one that I saw is Revenants are dead beings that come back to life to finish unfinished business. So the best way I can describe this is, I guess, technically it's kind of the Starkill, because because Admiral Nero had to be forced to bomb the Alpha chunk and then send the Beta chunk which produced these Revenants, because I don't think we saw that with the Alpha chunk. So I guess it's kind of unfinished business because they wanted to become the full AZAZEL. So I guess that's the best I can say, but I don't know, it's a little hard to tell, but that's what I saw at least. And overture typically refers to the beginning of something bigger, so it could be like a beginning of a song or something along that line. But with how overtures were described in Midwest Angelica, it kind of makes sense, because it's like the beginning of apotheosis in a sense, because as soon as the overtures, yeah, humanity was gonna cook. Like, even with the one overture, they're attacking in Thunder Basin, Wyoming, like home Gamma Majestic, yeah, they stood no chance. And Titans are basically the predecessors of gods in, like, I don't know, Roman or whatever mythology, I don't know, bro. Some random mythology, they're predecessors of gods, which of course makes sense with how godlike this fallen angel is. So similar to the overture in a sense, but yeah, during Operation Rapture, the whole speech thing, you could hear Avril Lavigne saying, "Hope is ephemeral, but it burns bright like 1,000 suns." To break it down, ephemeral just means something that lasts a short time. So basically, our hope is going to be short-lived. I mean, as you can see with apotheosis, yeah, that's kind of true. And even more, I think, with the whole 1,000 suns burning thing, stars above a certain weight, like from the sun, I think it's like 8 times or something, I have no clue exactly, but you know, especially 1,000 times bigger than the sun, it burns a lot faster since it's like a lot bigger, so it just burn all its fuel and like much faster, so it has a lesser lifespan. I mean, I say it's lesser lifespan, but it's still hundreds of millions of years probably. But once it does finish its lifespan, it goes out a supernova, which in simple terms is star go kaboom, and it can either lead a black hole, which has so much gravity, it literally sucks in light, so that's why it's black. You can't even see what's inside of it and everything. There's so much gravity. Like if you cross one point, you're pretty much cooked. Your life is in the black hole. You're getting spaghettified. It gets stretched to beyond cooked, like individual atom amount of stretch here. And the other possibility is a neutron star, which is not as physics breaking as a black hole, but still an incredibly dense amount of material that looks like a star, and it's like glowing really hot, and usually has a very strong magnetic field and whatnot. Not really related to this, but I mean the supernova thing kind of is, because the Dawn Star kind of backfired on them by blowing them up, you know, because they essentially created something that's way, like thousands of times, how do I say, something that's way beyond their comprehension, that eventually once they're taken over by the star kill, it basically blew them up. So I guess that makes sense. I don't know if that was intentional, but that's pretty cool, honestly, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's it for all the details that I've missed. I may come back later to add more, but hey, that's it for now. So the name Anima, it's a pretty interesting name, because Nero is a Roman emperor that ruled at some point. Nero is a Roman emperor that ruled at some point during Roman history. Don't even care about that one. The Dawn Star is clear. It's a reference to the morning star, which is either Jesus or the devil. So that's very nice. So for Anima, it's part of a phrase which is Anima Christi, or the soul of Christ. And it definitely seemed like this was the soul of AZAZEL. And the way John described apotheosis as America's tornado is because it's more a symbolic thing, because tornadoes, they just come in, destroy everything, and then just kind of leave, you know, because they just become normal wind after a while. Yeah, I was really confused about that. Like, they really decided Midwest Angelica with a quote like this. Then again, it made a lot of sense, you know, because it comes in, destroys, and then just leaves. That's exactly what AZAZEL did to the US, you know. And as far as the random details I found in Midwest Angelica that I missed out from the original breakdown, I just found, we gotta start off with stuff from Act 1. Yes, Act 1, because I somehow missed it during the breakdown. And of course, I decided to come back to it because I'm probably not coming back to Midwest Angelica after this, you know, it's already concluded. But instead, I'll be coming back to AQ Studios' new series, Codex Aquazone. We're gonna first start off with Dr. Andrew Evans / Andrew Webster, officer, you know. So both of these is clearly a reference to Andrew, the first apostle of Jesus, which I didn't even know is his first apostle. This is literally the only guy with my name in the entire Bible that's significant enough to even mention, apparently. And he was initially following John the Baptist as a disciple before John himself said this is the Son of God, and it's like, you know what, I'm following Jesus, bro. So in the series, it's a bit vague how this connects, but Andrew Webster, the officer, is initially looking for John Carlyle. So Yeah, and John himself gave information to Home Delta, like how the Akashic plane works and whatever. Not, John Carlyle kind of gave it in a sense. A bit more minor reference that because we literally have the officer following someone named John, so following initially the altar before he got infected, most likely, and then John Carlyle told him this is the guy you'll be looking forward to or something, because again they still have their own consciousness, but it's just assimilated with AZAZEL or whatever. The Annunciation event of Home HQ, this is a clear referenciation to the biblical Annunciation, which is when Mary is told to be the mother of Jesus. And that's kind of like Dr. Evans introducing the Starkill to Home HQ, because he's harboring the Starkill and then announced it by infecting everybody. And this is where it gets really, really juicy. Like, I had a small feeling about this, but in fact another commenter also had the same feeling. It's like, oh, I feel so vindicated. The three apostles of AZAZEL is basically similar to the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, which is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Or the series Body, Mind and Soul. Nero, the Dawnstar and Anima, the trio, the Trinity, the Unholy Trinity in this case, whatever you like to call it. That is a crazy realization. Like, as soon as there's a second apostle of AZAZEL, it's like, wait a second, do I think are they going to set up a Trinity, like, at some point? I think even as soon as I saw the Dawnstar becoming also so infected, I was like, you know what, I think they're setting up a Trinity of some sort, some cursed Trinity. I already know it is, pretty much. And Marcus Lucan, I know this doesn't seem very biblical because the guy is from Roman history, which I'll be breaking down in a bit. I didn't break it down, the original breakdown, for some dumb reason. The story of Marcus Lucan is somewhat similar to, I guess, Paul in the Bible, where he was initially very against God and whatever, like publicly persecuted the church and whatever, until he was making his way somewhere, and then God himself came through some light and blinded him. But he was told that if he visited this guy called Linnaeus, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, he'll be cured of his eyesight. And after seeing this, he decided to be the one spreading the word of the church and everything. And a majority of the New Testament is actually under him, like different letters to different societies and whatever, which is pretty good, honestly. Unfortunately, it's not like that, the story, because the story version is Marcus wanting to go against the Starkill in some sense, but gets infected by the Starkill, essentially the meeting of God or whatever, and becomes the harbinger of the Starkill, going around spreading the infection, the word of AZAZEL to everybody. So, and let's get to the main part of theories, observations, and other stuff. Anyways, for Harbinger, which is part 1 of the Act 3, Umbra is the darkest part of a shadow, and I partially knew something about shadows because we literally from the very first analog horror breakdown I ever did, there was a series called Eclipse of the Abyss, and there's a lot of shadow nonsense there, so I kind of learned there's like some sort of shadow something. Like as soon as I saw it, it's like there's something important with this guy's second name, but it's basically the darkest part of the shadow, and a little bit of symbolism. I can't think of any symbolism, but it's pretty cool. Well, Harbinger means someone or something that's announcing something else. So in this case, the Harbinger being Marcus Lucan is both spreading the word of the Starkill and telling us basically when apotheosis is happening, right after destroying Home and this thing. And that symbol that I was talking about earlier, the Metatron cube, well, that is named after the Archangel Metatron, which I just described just now, but it's seen as a map of the cosmos, revealing the fundamental patterns of reality and the connection between finite and infinite, which makes sense because finite is like humans and infinite is like the Starkill. And this is part of something called sacred geometry, but I'm not even going to bother looking into that because it's probably way too complex to describe, but that's the meaning of this goofy symbol. Pretty cool symbol actually. For Revelation, there's a lot of stuff for this. So first of all, we're going to start off with Anima's flash frames as always. Anima is the only... Anima is just giving an in-universe reason to put those analog horror type flash frame things in. Like, Midwest Angelica doesn't have a lot of that. It's literally just Anima doing that with... first with revealing that she's the second apostle of AZAZEL, and then I don't know when else it came honestly. I think it's Rapture, Operation Rapture. So the first one was showing Anima herself in paradise. Like this is during when John was talking to Lucas Michael's caretaker. The bombing of the White House, the Ark being covered in Starkill. This one's a little hard to tell, but I think it is because it's like the very tippy top of AZAZEL's final form, which is pretty much the Ark at this point, as we know. I mean, the sacrificial thing in Rucker Hill, Lucas Michaels himself, AZ-002 as a whole, an altar most likely from Long Pine, another pile of bodies that look to be the cave, which is most likely Spruce Mine from Madison, West Virginia. A random nuclear bomb going off. I'm honestly not sure what this is supposed to be, but I gotta assume it's shortly after the Dawnstar destroys Home Gamma Majestic's HQ. But of course this is a speculation because I don't think we've seen this one in the movie. But then we see what looks like the face of the Harbinger, like this goofy ugly face that the mother could love him. I think it has to be the Harbinger, right? It's humanoid, but it's not human, that's for sure. And there's even more bodies, as we then see someone that looks with a blood-curdling scream, like screaming to the top of their lungs, like, AZAZEL, why did you do this to me? I don't know, man. We never get an explanation for all of this, which I'll get to why that could be the case. Now we get to who Vindex himself is, because I actually didn't break this down in the previous breakdown for some dumb reason. But Vindex is actually another person who imposed Emperor Nero as well in Roman times, and he's one of the primary reasons for later on for Nero offing himself, but he himself had to off himself because his thing was also unsuccessful. And of course this could be kind of like how the Dawnstar had to force Nero to commit die because they had to make it look like Operation Rapture as a success. But unfortunately, him being in the Ark itself was a death sentence on its own, so kind of like his game overing. And his name also means defender, Vindex. No, Vindex is defender. Unfortunately, his name wasn't. Whoops. And this is also why Dawnstar refers to his.
Your opposition has provided the necessary element of tragedy.
Because you know, they're both apostles, you know, so the Dawnstar having to shoot down Nero is like tragic in a sense. But bruh, Nero is essentially the embodiment of the body of AZAZEL, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Another neat detail as well as figured out is Nero was literally just created to create the Dawnstar, man, because if the Dawnstar is the keystone to Apotheosis, that means Nero purposely existed just for the US to create Dawnstar for AZ-002. Because there's actually no reason for Nero to even exist. They could have just assimilated everything straight up, but they needed the mind of AZAZEL first before doing anything else. So that's why Nero was created, in my opinion. So Marcellus is actually a name shared by many people, and the name itself means of Mars, young warrior, which it does seem like pretty young. And considering the fact that in space, I guess it kind of makes sense the whole of Mars. But the most famous Marcellus I managed to find in the research is Marcus, not to be confused with Marcus, the other guy. We'll get to that guy soon. Marcus Claudius Marcellus, who was a Roman general who got something called the Spolia Opima or something like that. I'm definitely butchering the pronunciation of that, but which involves killing an enemy commander one-on-one. Well, that literally just happened. And dedicating that armor to the Roman god, I think, Jupiter. Which, again, bro, in both times that we saw AZ-01 and 02 in space, is next to Jupiter, so the symbolism is crazy. And now we get to Marcus Lucan. So, it's a reference to Marcus Annaeus Lucanus, who was someone who Nero initially liked for his poetry, but eventually grew jealous of it, eventually banning him from doing so, which made Lucanus want to assassinate Nero along with Piso. That's the whole reason he wanted to join. So I guess you can attribute this to the fact that for a while at least, Marcus had plot armor in the series. Like the moment he probably went to the river, he could have been infected there, straight there and assimilated. But I guess the Starkill liked him in a sense, like Nero liked him. It's like, so let's keep him around for a while. But then as soon as tapes were delivered to the Pentagon, he's already infected all the way there. So after it's delivered to the Pentagon, it's like, you know what, screw it. After this, you're gonna become the Harbinger. So for Apotheosis, there isn't actually that much. It's more decoding what the Harbinger said with the twilight of the last millennium. In simple terms, it just means the sunset after the previous 1000 years, or sunset after 1999, before New Year's, essentially, very basic. So another detail is that the Starkill actually closed the borders of the US, according to the news, which is actually pretty nice of the Starkill, bro. The fact that it wants to just keep it in the US and not spread it anywhere else. The Starkill literally took initiative to make sure the US is the only place suffering. Kinda kind, but also, left a bunch of nonsense like the Planchian Canyon of Tennessee and traumatized so many people with such eldritch experiences. I say so many people, there's very few survivors, let's be honest with that huge QVLT. For additional details, the TV schedule in just before the EAS broadcast is actually a bunch of references to stuff that AQ Studio did. So the first was literally a reference to Home Delta, because it's a secret organization that even the government didn't know, turning on them because, the Starkill infected the whole thing, so it kind of turned on the government, And the second one is referencing Eventide Media Center, which is another series by AQ Studios, which, let me know you guys want to do, you want me to do a breakdown on that. It's a pretty interesting series. It's a lot more analog horror type, Mostly it's actually pretty chill. Here and there you get glimpses of stuff. It's like, for me, it's a better version of Local 58. In my opinion, of course. Local 58 is still the OG analog horror, so respect is still, we still gotta give some respect to that, And the last one is literally referencing the events that happened in Starfield. And as a bonus, is also referencing The Walking Dead. I don't know what happens to The Walking Dead. I feel like, if I remember correctly, it's about zombies, so kind of makes sense, because they became phantoms, especially the dead became phantom, the Avery Jones. And the reason so many details were left unclear in Act 3 is because this is a film, so, and not just any film, the Midwest Angelica film. You listen carefully in Red Oak, they said, but the one that we got to see is just this. And you know what, they didn't just recover, they probably didn't recover just one cut of the film, they actually recovered two, because there are two different dates for when they supposedly recovered the Midwest Angelica film. One is late 2002, which is the one we saw in Act 3. Another one, which contained Operation Rapture, was discovered in 2003 rather than 2002, September 2003. They even have a specific date and everything that flashed through. So that one is probably the second cut of everything. And the third cut that probably got demolished in Operation Rapture, the third cut that literally got destroyed in Operation Rapture, was probably the one that Dr. Spencer discovered and Admiral Nero used to display Operation Homebound, as well as his whole evil ass speech. Well, at least that's my theory anyways. Because, bro, if you're bombing a whole entire facility, I don't think you have time to filming very nicely and everything, so it's most likely the film that Spencer found. Which makes it all the more ironic, because Nero's literally an amalgamation of Spencer and Starkill, so yeah. But yeah guys, I think that's it for Midwest Angelica.
Well, that aged well.
This is an absolutely amazing series that you should go check out in the AQ Studios channel. I'm also going to link their merch store and their Patreon in the description, because you should actually check it out. They just dropped the merch for the new series Codex Aquazone, which I'm definitely snagging once they have more designs. I like the designs, but I want to let the series develop more before I make another poor financial decision with this and then the Dawnstar poster in the background and this t-shirt and my Apotheosis t-shirt that's somewhere else. So if I want to make a poor financial decision, I'm making sure this design is absolutely bomb. And the next time I'll be doing a breakdown is probably when season 1 of that series is complete. Yeah, again, go check out the AQ Studios channel description, and yeah, thanks for watching guys.
When angels die, their bodies rot and fall from the heavens. Their wings burn in the atmosphere. Their halos shatter against the earth. But wherever they land, death must follow. And with death comes the inevitability of rebirth. For it is said that an angel's soul never truly dies. Coming soon to home video is Midwest Angelica, Landfall.